Hey, welcome back. This is Defender Chassis. My name's Scott, and this is the first video in a short series on the lift that I purchased for the new shop. I was going to roll this video in with the shop build series, but I think it'd be beneficial to people to just see what happens or what we're going through to buy and install the lift. So what we're going to do in this first video that we're going to shoot here today is I'm going to catch you up. It's March 24th, and I actually purchased the lift. Shopped around, did my research last year, and somewhere around the end of the year, right around January 1st, we went ahead and made a purchase. And what we ended up going with was a lift made by a company called Worth out of Texas, and they make lots of different kinds of automotive equipment. And I'll put a little link down the doobly-doo so you can see, go to their website, and I'll even put a link directly to the lift that we bought. I'll just go ahead and tell you that the lift is their model number 10,000 CF, and we put a couple options, added a couple options to it. We went ahead and paid for an additional 1 foot extra width and 1 foot taller. Just to let you know what the cost was, the price of the lift was $33.90, and the foot wider was another $200. The foot taller was an extra $100, and they gave me a discount for not using a credit card. They actually gave them a check number and filled out a form, and they took the money directly from the business checking account. And so the price, the total ended up being $36.25, and I got free shipping. So anyway, let's talk about what we went through and why we picked Worth. The criteria for what we wanted in the shop, one of the things was that we wanted to buy something made in USA, and that really narrowed the options. I had a lift purchased from Snap-on that I thought was a made in USA lift, and it turns out that Snap-on's lifts are actually made by Challenger. Now Challenger has a lift that's assembled in the USA, and a lot of things about it are made in USA, but they can't make the claim that it's 100% made in USA. But most Challenger lifts, including those they make for Snap-on, are made in China. So I actually had the Snap-on guy come up here. I've got a buddy with a business down the road, a couple of miles, and he had bought 2 lifts from them, and he thought they were either made in Canada or made in USA. And I said, well, listen, if that's the deal, then I want, I'd like to buy one. So he contacted him, and they met me at his shop, and they were going to come up here and do a site survey because Snap-on actually does the installation for their cost. And the cost is pretty comparable to what I ended up paying for this Worth, except that I'm going to have to do the installation on this one myself. But anyway, there were 2 other companies that I looked at that were actually truly made in USA, and one was Nussbaum. And Nussbaum is a lift that that company is actually German, and they make a lot of lifts in Europe. But in addition to importing some, they're also manufacturing lifts in North Carolina now. Now I chose not to go with the Nussbaum, although the price was comparable to what I bought. But I just feared that because Nussbaum had made lifts in this country years ago and then left and then didn't sell anything in this country and are just now, I say just now, I'm thinking it's within the last couple of years, they're trying to get back in this market and also manufacturing lifts down in, I think it's right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. But anyway, so that's the reason I didn't go with Nussbaum. And the other option was a Mohawk. Now listen, I would love to have a Mohawk, and truthfully, the reason I didn't buy a Mohawk was that was price. It was double the cost. All my research tells me that they make a wonderful piece of equipment. I'm not sure that I ever found anybody that had anything bad to say about a Mohawk lift. But at double the price, I mean, I'm at $3,625 for this, and they were closer to $8,000. So for double the price, it just really wasn't in the cards. So that's what led us to Worth. Now, I did find some issues with Worth, with the research that I did, and those things have seemed to be all true. Now, it's nothing major. If you're building, a showroom or something of that nature that you're not going to work in, most of this stuff's not going to bother you. The one thing that I did find was a guy had complained about the paint, that he got the lift and it was all scratched up, and I'll show you here in a minute. And that's what's on the trailer behind us, is this new lift. And the way it's packaged up, the way it's delivered, it's going to get scratched. It's not going to look like a brand new car when you get it. I mean, in fact, there are scratches on it that are underneath of the shrink wrap. If this is something that bothers you, then I'm not going to say don't buy off of Worth, but just know that you're going to get a product that likely has some scratches in it. Now, and I've run into this with other products before, and some manufacturers, that's what they deliver. And in reality, if you look at it, it's a tool, and it's something you're going to use. It's probably something that you're going to put some wear on. So personally, it doesn't bother me, but just know up front that that's something you're probably going to have to deal with. Now, the other issue that I found while doing the research was delivery time. Now, it's not unusual for a salesman to sell you the moon and then deliver something down the street. So I had anticipated that probably the lead times they quoted me were probably going to be pretty generous. And in fact, when I paid the money for the lift, and this is something to learn from as well. This is the sales order that I agreed to and signed and sent back. And although they quoted me 6 to 8 weeks delivery, there's nothing on this sales order, and it's just something I failed to think about and ask them to put on here, was that they didn't put any kind of a lead time on here. And since I paid by check, I really didn't have much choice but to wait on it. And without documentation, without something that said, "Hey, listen, we're going to get this to you in an 8-week time frame," then how do you hold them against hold them to that? So here we are. We're at the end of it's March 24th, and I finally have it on site. Now, they did tell me that last week, I think it was Friday when I finally got a hold of them. They said that they actually did complete the fabrication at that point, but couldn't get a truck until Tuesday of this week. Ended up, they didn't ship it until Wednesday of this week. So, I'm not saying that they lie about that, but there are some salesmen that would, that would do that. Hey, listen, the thing's done, but we can't get it shipped because it's a trucking company or whatever. But anyway, it's not a real big deal. I am working out of this shop now. We haven't needed the lift. It would have been nice to have already had it in here and put up. We could have done some more organization a little earlier, but we're working around that. So. Just know when you order the thing, and like I said, I ordered it the first of the year, and knowing when I was going to need it, and knowing that the lead time that they quoted 6 to 8 weeks was probably going to be more like 10 to 12, and that's what it ended up being. I was pretty close on that. So it really wasn't any surprises. If you need a lift tomorrow, these guys don't have them on the shelf. Everything's made to order. Even though I ordered a custom piece, they don't stock anything. You can't call them today and say, "Hey, what do you got on the shelf?" They don't have anything on the shelf. They're working through customer orders. I think that's just about everything that I wanted to go over here. Now we're going to do the installation in a later video, and probably we're going to unload it in a later video. But what I'd like to do is, because I need to get the instructions out, and I can spend some time in the evening at the house and look over the things. Let's go ahead and get the cardboard and the shrink wrap off the thing, and we're going to leave it all bound together, but let's get it off there and see what else is in there. And this will be documentation too
for you know, if there's anything that we uncover underneath here. So let's get after it and see what's under there. Okay, so that didn't take too long, and I'm not terribly displeased with everything that I see. Let me take the camera up there and move you around a little bit, and let me show you a couple of things. One of the things I was worried about, you know, this Made in USA thing, if you're not 100% aware, there is a Federal Trade Commission regulation in the United States to document what it means to say something is made in the USA. And so when you see that on a product, that means that everything has to be made in USA. It doesn't mean, like in this case, like something like the steel in this. They couldn't buy foreign steel, make this in the United States, and call it Made in USA. And so, but you run into a lot where people don't understand that. They don't understand that there is a rule and that things they have to follow. And one of the things I was worried about was the hydraulics and the motor on this. And but there is actually, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it or not. Of course, we'll get you a shot of this later. But down there on the motor, it does say country of origin USA, and it is made. It says it's a made by U.S. Motors, and it is this is made by U.S. Motors for SPX hydraulics. So I'm glad that's the case. I'll let you look here and see. You know, this is the top crossover beam, I believe, and there's scratches there. And like I say, that's not something I'm going to worry about. If it's something that concerns you, then, you know, the guy that stopped by earlier, we were talking about this, and you know, they could crate this thing up. They could buy a skid, and they could crate it on a skid, and charge you an extra $300 to ship it, and probably it would come to you in a little better shape. And you know, it's obvious that when they painted this thing, if you look here, and this stuff was all, see, there's actually dirt on that, and you know, this stuff was all under the shrink wrap, and so it's obvious that, you know, this was not handled, you know, with kid gloves after it was painted. Now, like I said, you know, you've got to make the decision as to whether or not, you know, that's something that's a problem for you or not. Now, it does appear that the paint is still a bit tender. Where I had, when I strapped this down, I strapped and looped around here and to the other side, and it does appear that it has marred the paint a little bit. So this thing hasn't been painted for very long. And that might lead you to believe that, you know, this thing wasn't painted last week, that, you know, the thing shipped on Wednesday, you know, maybe they painted it on Tuesday. Either way, you know, the thing's here, so we're not going to We're not going to sweat the small stuff. See more scratches up here. I don't see a can of paint. I had thought that they would include a can of touch-up paint or something of that nature, but you know, the guy I talked to before that had a problem with it, he said his touch-up paint didn't quite match. So I'm not sure that you know, it's going to be anything worth worrying about. Now back to the strapping this thing down. I didn't expect it to come this way. I guess I had anticipated that it would be like on a skid strapped down, and that like these two main posts, rather than being stacked, would actually be side by side. So when they put it on the truck, I kind of had a little bit of a, I was a little bit surprised at how, you know, and being so tall, I was thought, well, you know, we got to keep this thing from tipping over. So that's the reason why the straps went from the side of the trailer and then wrapped around so that it was going to bind on it and it wouldn't fall over. You know, it's a problem with hauling something that's taller than it is wide. Even though you get it strapped down good, it could still tip over within the straps. Hey, let's open this box of stuff, see if the instructions are in there. And I did a walk around. This is worth noting as well. There was a little damage to the outside of the packaging, and this scratch right here appears to have happened in shipping. And this is a lesson that you know, if you never had this kind of stuff shipped to you before, whenever you pick it up, I had it. They didn't deliver this to the shop because I didn't have a way of getting it off the truck once it was here. So I picked it up at the terminal. And we were lucky in that the terminal, this is not a really highly populated area, so depending upon what company it ships to, depends upon where the terminal's at. And I've had instances where the terminal maybe is an hour away from here. And, but this one happened to be just 6 miles down the road, so that was really handy. But you know, when you pick it up and you sign that paper, you know, you're signing, agreeing that the, you know, that they've delivered it to you in good shape. And like I said, I knew that some of the scratches, you know, like on the base plates, were obviously done before it was packed up, and that wasn't part of shipping. But what I did have them do on this scratch right here, since there was obviously some damage to the cardboard and the shrink wrap, is I had the guy go ahead and note it on the receipt paper. So he detailed what was wrong. He took some pictures, and then he also signed my copy of the paperwork indicating that there was a scratch in it that did not appear to be structural damage. Like I said, it's not something I'm going to worry about unless it turns into something bigger, and you just never know. So better safe than sorry. Point the stuff out, let them take pictures of it, make sure your paperwork details it, because you know, the guy you talk to, if you don't have it on paper, it's probably not going to be the guy you're going to go back against. So anyway, let's look. This box does not appear, it's got a full set of anchors, which, you know, that's something to consider as well when you buy a lift. You know, I can see where probably some cheaper lifts would not come with anchors, but this includes a full set of these are wedge anchors. I've used this style not for putting a lift in, but for other things. But it appears that the hardware for the install, including there's some kind of a hydraulic fitting, actually a bulkhead tee. So anyway, I may need to talk to them about any kind of instructions. Hey, one last little addendum. After we shut the camera off, I took one little last look before I headed home for some dinner. I did actually find what appears to be the instructions. But of a bigger concern, and something I want to go ahead and get documented, and we'll throw this in this video, is that I found, you know, the scratches in the paint are one thing, but what I'd like to show you is the way this was packed up. And we'll go back so you can see. This is one of the arms, and this is the hydraulic tank. And this foot has been riding against this tank, and has got some damage to that tank. Now, it doesn't appear to me that it's going to leak, but you know, that's one place. If I'd make a suggestion to Worth on you know, packaging these things up a little bit better, is that's something that I think I would take a look at. I appreciate you watching, and we've got another project here that we've got to finish for a guy, and as soon as that happens, we're going to get this unloaded, and the rest of the organization of the shop depends upon the position of this lift. So the next video we'll go over where we're going to put it, and we'll unpack it. We'll finish unpacking it, get it off the trailer, and start putting it in position and take it from there. So hey, listen, if you didn't watch the shop build, take a look at that, and I've got 70 some other videos, and take a look at those if you'd like. Subscribe, comment if you've got questions about what we've talked about in this video, and otherwise I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.